Hey folks, it's Rob and welcome back. Uh, Today's a bonus video. We finished the Dungeon Master's Guide and the red box. We're actually done there. And I thought today's a treat. I would open this and I'd use the crayon and fill in some dice and I one of these Zuccotti sets as well. And then maybe I'd talk a little about my campaign that I have been running with my wife, and then go over again the options for what we're going to do going forward. Because the poll is already up, and it is on the community page on my channel. It's also you can comment under the previous video. That was the final video for the Dungeon Master's Guide, or you can comment here. But we'll get to that later. First off, I have to open the shrink wrap on this and get in here, right? Ooh, peel that plastic, right? Yes, it's suddenly become an ASMR channel. Yes. Yeah, look at him just get a good grip on it and just oh yeah. Oh, it's good to have finished something, you know. If it does feel good to have finished something. And this is going to be a fairly tight fit, aren't you? Yeah. I need to get you started somehow. I need to get a little air in there. Hmm. Right, yeah, that does not want to move. And I really don't want to damage this box. What do I have that's thin that I can shimmy into there? Had I thought about it, I probably could have used my ruler to kind of get it going. But I don't have that to hand. I just have my pen knife to hand. Excuse me, YouTube, while I bring out something sharp. Just kind of edge that in there to kind of squeeze that out. There we go. Just enough to get a grip on it, right? Right. There we go. I'm in. Put that back away over there. Cover artist. That's, we have this booklet here. Some character art. Folds out like that. This is not sponsored in any way, by the way. I just wanted to do this. And this is my first time opening one of these, so I wanted to check it out, right? These are all opened on the reverse side versus what you think they might be. Basic Quest and Map Collection by Russell Herschler. You may find yourself living in a forest shack, and you may find yourself in a strange, fantastic world. Watching the days go by. All right, yeah, we got some maps in here. Okay. Oh, look at that. And let's see, we got a randomized hook list, randomized treasure list, randomized monster list. Interesting. And yeah, you can roll a d6 for your map. Well, that's a good way to get started if you're lacking inspiration. Not a bad thing. The Dice and Crayons character sheet, which is probably very BECME compliant, BX compliant, more so. Just open that up. Yeah, look at this. You got player name, character name, alignment, class, strength, wisdom, constitution, level, intelligence, dexterity, charisma, race, proficiency bonus, inspiration, if you use that rule. Sign or blazon. Initiative, if you're using that. Hit die adjustment, hit dice, hit points. Armor class, movement base, usual saving throws, and death rolls, skills and proficiencies, if you're using that kind of thing. Scores for weapons, supports weapons specialization. Equipment and magic item area, class features, and you got on the back here, you got like distribution of all items carried. Wow, that's, item and location. That's getting into some detail. Feats, if you use feats, I believe that is a more 3rd and 4th edition kind of thing. Spell casting abilities, invocations, spell level, gold, experience, personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Okay. Not the worst character sheet I've seen in my life. Seems to be we have another one here as well. Oh, this one's a bit more old school, I think. Kinda, yeah. Definitely looks like something I might have drawn up at some point. It's got a comeliness. Comeliness. That's an AD&D thing. Yeah, you got your saving throws. You got an ammunition tracker, henchman tracker. Oh, yeah. If you need to keep a henchman tracker, I don't know what's going on in your campaign. Nothing on the back. All right. Okay. Get to the nitty gritty of it here. We got a black and a red crayon. Okay. Okay. Kind of was hoping for a white one, honestly. And, we have a set of uncolored dice. You needed 2 colors with really, truly old school because you didn't get the D10s in the original set. You had to use D20s. The D20s were 1 to 0, basically 0 to 9, twice. And you'd color one color, the other that's another color, or you'd have the 1 die, and you'd color half of the numbers one color and half of the numbers another color, and you'd determine what was the high, the teens. Well, I guess we're going to use black, because I think that's going to show better. I have the camera, the light turned down just a bit, so there's less glare, but I can turn it up if I need. I have a remote. Ooh. As you can see, we have a couple levels available to us. Non-toxic, non-branded crayon, right? Why not? So I think we'll start with the white. I was going to randomly determine which one to do first, but actually, white and black is going to be the most visible, right? And basically, you just kind of rub it against the line, right? And try to get the crayon into the gap. Just kind of rub it around. Make sure you're filling in the space properly, because this is basically printed into. Well, it's molded right into the surface, right? And so you just kind of play over the number, get that wax in there, right? And then once you're ready, you wipe it off. Bring it back down to just the number, right? And if there's imperfections in the surface, you'll know about it. Yeah, and there are. We got this thing going on over here, and actually that's our next number, but it goes like that, right? And you can also ink them. I actually do have some speed paints I could probably use for this purpose, but then basically you can only, you have to do it one number at a time, right? You do the 2, and then you let it sit and dry. Now you're doing a whole set. Obviously, you can kind of move through them, right? And you're going to need something to kind of hold that D4 in place. But these have flattened end tips, so they kind of stand like that. Because you don't want that speed paint running. But there we go. You just kind of keep doing this, right? And obviously, yeah, I guess we couldn't use a white crayon because we have the white D20, right? In fact, the red probably looks okay, pretty good on the white D20. Is this project going to take more time than I thought? And yeah, I need to fill that a bit more. You know, it is a bit cold in my office, which probably isn't helping. It's I think about close to 60 degrees right now. I live in Southern California currently, and at night it's still kind of cool right now here in late-ish October. And that means I'm probably fighting against this a bit more than I would like. Would have preferred also this to be a Yeah, because this is actually a fairly firm crayon. It's been more than a moment since I've had to handle a crayon, admittedly. I know there's this big fad with, like, adult coloring and all that stuff. It's not like my wife hasn't done some of that. But, and actually, her aunt is well into it, and she's, just turned 70. Um, but I haven't done a lot of coloring myself. And kind of committed to this. So, I'm going to go ahead and do this D20. But I think we're going to have to move on to something else later because this is just not the right environment for it. I am so sorry. So I can't undo the unboxing and opening of this kit. And I can't, put this aside and I'll do this in our time. And, so you got to make sure you get the whole number filled in too, right? Ah, the old days. We are very nostalgic for them, but then we forget just how much of a pain in the ass the old days sometimes was. Sorry about that, YouTube. A little casual swearing. That's a bad habit I picked up in Scotland. Oh, my. I developed certainly a foul mouth living abroad. A lot of casual swearing over there in Fife. But it was nice over there. The main drawback of me being in Scotland to me, well, okay, the main one, truly main one, is like I had to leave my friends and family behind, right? I left the country and moved thousands of miles away to be with my then wife, fiance, who became my wife and is now my ex-wife. And, I was in my 20s. I thought I'm in love. Things are going to work out fine. I'm optimistic about the future, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there we go. Rubbing against a forgotten technique. Rub it against the surface, Rob. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So things went pretty well at first, and about 5 years in, things aren't so nice. But you're like, I made a commitment, and you know, you're missing your friends and family. And this is like, there isn't like you can't just routinely just like Skype somebody at the time. So, I kind of fell out of contact with my friends. And occasionally my family might, I got a couple visits in the course of 15 years living abroad from cousins. My mother never was able to come, and neither were my sisters or their kids. Um, and yeah, my friends never visited either. I did come back to Chicago one time and visited with them in 2005. And that was really nice. It was like I'd never been away, and I got to spend a lot of time with my friends and with family. And then I went back, and things were okay as long as basically I was able to make enough money to make up for the fact that my wife couldn't hold on to money if you sewed it into her pants. And then, uh, the financial crisis happened, right? And also, frankly, there was a miscarriage, which adversely psychologically affected my wife. And it's another reason why I kind of stuck it out far longer than I should have. Because, honestly, um, I was deeply unhappy for the final 5 years. Uh, I got ill for a period of time. That basically forced my hand financially. And I ended up going bankrupt. Um, and that was a boon for me because suddenly what was costing me like almost all my money, right? Everything that wasn't like going to bills or uh, to rent, uh, I mean, utility bills or to food, basically, was going to servicing debt. And the settlement was like 200 quid a month. It was ridiculous. It was like half the cost of a loan that I was servicing and was begging the bank to give me a couple months of airspace to be able to get back to work and get back into paying because I only had 6 months left on that loan, and they refused because it's honestly I have no problem with saying bad things about Lloyd's. Lloyd's is a fucking garbage bank. You should not ever have any dealings with Lloyd's. um, my first year, actually my first month living in the United Kingdom, I was in England at the time. I was in Clacton on Sea. I went down to the high street to open a bank account. I walked into Lloyd's, and they said no, I couldn't open an account unless I had an appointment. The I'd almost swore. um, yeah, fucking. Oh, there we go. So, see, that's what I mean about the casual swearing. um. Anyway, yeah. Off track. Sorry, this one's going to be quite rambly, I suppose, because it's easy to just kind of talk and ramble while I'm doing this. Um, there we go. Yeah. So, I was the bankruptcy helped a lot with my financial problems, but then like my severe depression did not allow me to keep my job. And talking to the psychologist about it, they said that my depression was a natural reaction to my circumstances. I was feeling very little affection from my wife, who was drinking heavily, smoking heavily, and having her own depression problems clearly, and making me miserable at the same time. And I was contemplating my way out, honestly. We don't talk about that much on YouTube because, I'm going to call it auto assassination, is a big no no to talk about here on this platform. But I think sometimes it's important that we talk about this kind of thing because honestly, far too many people die that way. Far too many. And it's not always preventable, sometimes there's nothing you can do, but sometimes we need to reach out and help people, right? And sometimes you need to know about other people's experiences to know what they went through, to have an idea what you're going through in comparison, right? Just knowing you're not alone can awfully help a lot. And I think it's just sad, really, how a certain word should not be used on a platform like this with such broad reach and capability to make for good. But this whole platform's not nuanced in any way. The whole moderation thing's handled by bots and algorithms, and it's just watching for keywords. And, actual human beings cost money and they're not applied. So we make up stupid euphemisms like auto assassination or self deletion or, you know. So, I was sticking it out. I'd lost my job after years of trying to half-assedly, full-assedly, struggling with my depression and trying to keep my job and try to make all the pieces hold together. What most helped me not do anything to myself was actually speaking to my cousin Chris, who I've mentioned on the channel on various occasions, uh, but probably not during the recent years. Uh, back in the day, I'd mention him sometimes because he was a game developer, and he still is. He works for a company I will not describe right now because it's I don't have his permission to talk about it, honestly. Um, he's been hugely supportive of. We were raised as semi brothers after my father died. Um, my mom moved up to the city from the country. Oh, geez, it's a whole thing, isn't it? Um, to be near her sister again. She's originally from Chicago, and she met my father, and they moved. And his mother, my grandmother on my father's side, had retired to the country to the family farms down there, and so he came down there to farm. It was the 70s. Uh, and my father, previously being a milkman, but grew up on the farm, right? So nothing strange for him. And that was fairly common back in the day, back in the earlier parts of the 20th century. Lots of people grew up on farms. Um, much less so now. We're way more urbanized than we used to be. Far fewer people are farmers. Um, and what farming does happen tends to happen on larger, more commercial operations than like what my father did. My father basically grew popcorn as a cash crop and had about 70 head of cattle. And we also had some chickens, but those weren't raised for commercial purposes. And we had, food gardens of like potatoes and regular corn and a lot of feed corn for the animals. My father would bring home milk and eggs, and well, I remember vividly when first off, he raised a whole bunch of chicks. He'd converted an entire spare room into an incubator. And then it came time for the harvest, as it were. And he had a hatchet and a stump, and he'd grab a chicken by the neck, lay it out, whap. Over and over again. And he'd toss that beheaded chicken aside, and it would literally hop around on its legs without its head. Wild. Um, Things I did in the 70s. Oh, it was a different time, kids. Different time. riding around the backs of pickup trucks without any kind of seat belts, or people didn't use seat belts. Even if I was riding inside the truck, I didn't have a seat belt on. Um, I used to go to the farm with my grandpa, and he'd be plowing a field while he'd have me along with him. 6-year-old me hanging off the back seat of the tractor, standing on the tongue of the plow hitch. If I fell off, I'd be sliced to pieces. Oh man. But this is a huge diversion. Sorry, I was talking about uh what was I talking about? Um I was kind of talking about living in Scotland and how that fell apart, I suppose. So yeah, 2014 comes around. Things had gotten progressively worse. I had lost my job at the bank because I couldn't keep that together. Because mostly just like I couldn't bear being there. Um, and I couldn't stand. I didn't have the patience because I was just exhausted and at my wits' end to deal with people and their shenanigans on their bank accounts. And, you know, that's not good when you're in customer service. Um, because you need to be patient and you need to not, tell them for fuck's sake. There we go with the swearing again. Sorry. Um, so yeah, talked to my cousin Chris. He helped me a lot deal with my problems. Um, he even gave me some money so I could return to the United States, which was immensely helpful of him, and I am forever indebted to him for doing so. Um, and it was a gift, and I've used that gift to help other people in my life because it was needed, like people like my mother, my nephew, uh, and in the end, he's fine, right? Uh, I love him dearly. I think about sometimes how I could just gift him the money back. Um, and maybe I will one day. But right now, I'm back to helping my nephew, so I'm using the money for other things. Um, yeah, so left Scotland in September, 10 years ago, actually. And initially, it was like a trial separation. I feel like my wife felt like. I don't know exactly how she felt about it because we didn't communicate much after I left. And, I kind of expected her to, maybe pick up a phone and call me every now and again or, respond to the messages I would send her periodically. Since she was kind of ghosting me for a while and I was living at my sister's house. Uh, and that's a whole other thing I'm not even going to get into right now, staying with my sister Jenny. Um, 'Cause that turned into another pile of crap. Sorry. I assure you, I was not raised to be so crass. And I disappoint myself when I catch myself doing this kind of stuff casually. In polite conversation, I should not be so crude. Um, my poor deceased mother did not raise me that way. So it's been 10 years, right? And I had to start over. Um, Ended up going to Tucson, staying in my different cousin's house, his sister's, um, for a period of time. Pretty sure she had an angle on me being some kind of underpaid helper for her, like care thing that she does. I didn't buy into it. I got myself a job, which I still currently have. Well, kind of have. I work for the same company. I don't have the exact same job. I've gotten a few position and promotion adjustments along the way because actually I don't suck at what I do. And I'm actually quite good at it. And I now more guide and train other people at how to do it. So, and I generally manage to keep my mouth under control in a professional setting. I guess I just don't consider this a professional setting. So here we go. We got the white D20 done, right? Huh. Only 6 more to go. Oh, and it's already been 30 minutes. Wow. Okay. I was ambitious with my planning. But, you know what? Maybe I should identify other crayons and use the perfect ones. Because I think really white would really pop on this blue, right? Maybe black is fine for the green. And maybe on the yellow. But I think white plays well here and on here. And maybe on here. Yeah, I think I need a white crayon. But, you know, let's, I'll put this aside for now. Because clearly this is not enough. Well, Rob, you can be as long as you want. No one cares. If people are bored with this, they've already tuned out. Really, really, really want to say that don't give up is my point. Because I got myself a new job. In the course of being in that job, basically about a year and a month after coming back to the U.S., I found a new girlfriend, a proper one, not just like a couple dates. I did have a couple dates along the way before that with some other people. Some things that didn't really work out. But this is a real rough molding item here. Hard for me to be... These are really nice, right? These are really nice. Nice polish, nice contrast, nice coloring. I'm quite happy with them. Some interesting inclusions inside them, but they're pretty nice dice. I expect maybe a little more polish on these. To be critical for a moment. Right? And when you're doing the crayon finishing, it really stands out when the surface isn't very clean, right? Well, you know, these weren't very expensive. These were not. This was like $6, right? $6 for these. I don't complain. I'm not complaining much about that. These being a bit rough, it's a little nostalgia. It's fine. This kit with the box, $20. Would much rather have had these properly finished. Really don't like this mold line right here. I'm going to have to actually trim and file that probably, and it's not going to be nice because this kind of plastic doesn't just look great when it's cut, right? Still, hey, 20. Right, what I'm going to do is I am going to put this aside for now. and get into some of the other stuff I intended to do in the course of this video so it doesn't run on for freaking forever. I didn't even plan that whole talking about my life thing for a half hour. Sorry about that, everybody. This is still a very tight box. I'll have to put something so it can easily, if you put a little like, if you take a Post-it or some other piece of paper, you can kind of wrap it around so it's like like this, right? But inside the inside box and enough of a tab out to help you just kind of pull the whole box out if you're ever struggling with that kind of thing for something. Right. I was going to talk about my campaign materials a little. This fox-eaten green book, which very faintly is dotted, right? So it's a compromise between line and graph, the dot. And as you can see, I've put some tabs on here, right? I just kind of throw Post-its in here. You can see when I hand out magic items, I tend to write them out, right? And then after it's been added to the character sheet, I keep them. And I can keep that to hand to be aware of exactly what that stuff does. Here I have a base monster reference for the adventures immediate campaign I planned, right? And then basically numbered entries for the dungeon entries, right? So each room has numbers. And apparently we were near here recently. And, combat statistics of the monsters and treasures I've planned and that kind of thing. All this. And then, like, these are actually just notes I made for myself about, like, Nyx, which is kind of the immortal. I was in some plot points here. And, the further we go in, where there's more. This is the lower temple stuff I haven't even gotten around to just getting into with her yet. White. This is the ultimate big bad I have planned for this dungeon. And then you can go to lower levels, and then another Ixion is like the cleric, immortal patron. I have NPC in the party, and then some notes about Birkenford, which is the village setting I had, and some NPCs in town, and you got a lot of empty space here in the middle. And then the back end here, I started just building out this like quest I did most recently. It was negotiation terms and like a dragon beetle nest, and you can see like I drew a simple little map for it because I drew it out in big on the big vinyl sheet I have, which has a graph on it, and big graph paper kind of vinyl sheet. I used color markers and had the miniatures on it, right? And I got the treasure there for the monsters and whatnot. This is just cruft back here. It's like, okay, what kind of names do I want to play around with? I was idling. I was watching Viking Saga at the time, and just crufting. This is my DM screen, and it folds out quite a bit, and magnetically closes. And as you can see on my side, like I'll have things up, right? And these are like reference sheets of stuff, notes, character sheets, that kind of stuff. When I was having retainers, like I had these laid out, and like, okay, these are the ones we would have available initially. There's various NPC characters here, and like notes on the village, and oh yeah, there's my dungeon map. right. I knew it would be in here. Excellent. Uh, you can see it's a trifold, right? And we got some NPCs here, some monster details, right? And this here is my dungeon map, right? For the first level. You might recognize this section from the DMG, from the player's book, right? This is the solo adventure dungeon here. You couldn't get into here before. We never got into here, but she did. And this is like over here, kind of your initial first entrance. So I just kind of plug that in. It's not explicitly in the map they portray. And then like here's the rust monster. Here's like the ghouls and such over this way. Um, and yeah, I just kind of fleshed out this whole back end. And this was what has been her primary focus because I put a goblin lair in this sector. And so, you can see each room is numbered, and I use some shorthand kind of notation of symbols and that kind of thing. And yeah, here I got level 2 over here. Just put these things back right now because I'll need them next time. I've not been playing because it's been the summer season and we've both been terribly busy. But it's been great to have this outlet and talk about my hobby with you. And yeah, that's just simple paper organization. I know I'm old. I don't really use a lot of electronic aids at the table. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way, with having your electronic devices and your things written out, and even just fancy map screens and whatnot. You can play online. I've played online. It's not a problem. I'm not judging you. I'm just showing you things I did in my old school head. Now I'm going to talk a moment about like our vote. So to return to that, and I'm going to lay out the options again in the same order to ensure, some continuity of clarity. Option 1, I continue to talk about monsters of this setting. This is the second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Mystara Monsters Compendium Appendix. This is about 120 pages of monsters that are unique to the known world / Mystara setting. I'm happy to go and work through this with you. We'll read stuff. I might get an electronic copy so I can just don't have to damage this one by making it flat. But we can do that. Option 2, some gameplay. This is a solo adventure. Ghost of the Lying Castle. A great cat sits upon the northern grasslands, my friend, waiting to pounce on adventurers just like you. As you part the tall grass with your sword, the words of the tavern keeper echo in your head. He was the mightiest wizard we'd ever known, and that lying castle was his home. Your friends' voices mingle with the tavern keeper's. He's but a ghost now, haunting those halls and waiting for an heir. The ground rises slightly. A strong wind rushes through the field. Suddenly the grasses part, and the Lion Castle rises majestically before you. Magical riches await those who enter. Beware of man-beasts. Voices flood your head again. Will you brave the haunted castle? Can you afford not to? It's all up to you in this D&D solo adventure. Ghost of Lying Castle is for one player only, but that one player makes all the choices and enjoys all the rewards. An entire castle and courtyard await your exploration. The adventure also includes a complete solo combat system. So it's not quite as if we were playing table play, obviously, right? And it's got its own special features, honestly, and it comes with some preset adventurers here in the back, right? Pre-rolled characters, and there's like a kind of a roguelike aspect to it where you can make journal entries here. I'm obviously not going to write in this module, but I did have plans for how to go ahead, like, put some post-it notes in here as we go, make notes, that kind of thing. Um, Classic module about contemporary with the actual, this line of Dungeons and Dragons. It's about 1984, and you know, certainly an option. That's option 2. Option 3, didn't have this to picture last time because it was on my shelf and I hadn't planned about it, is this. We move on to the expert rules set. I'm quite pleased with this box. It's only got a little bit of indent over here. It's otherwise quite nice and clean. It was quite a find. I'm very happy with it. Um, for those not familiar, the Expert Set book is a single book of both player and dungeon master. You can see the border here is a little different. And by the known world, we're talking about basically what's pictured. No, that's Threshold. Here we go. This is the Grand Duchy here. But there's a map here in the Isle of Dread module, which comes in this set. And this is like a very clean, no one's ever used this. There we go. That's the known world right there at the time. And this gets expanded by the Gazetteer series significantly, right? This is the Isle of Dread way down here. And this is basically civilized lands, as it were. Plenty of monsters, I can assure you, and plenty of weirdness and things. They're like the Broken Lands is not exactly civilization. But, this is where a lot of basically the modules are set, right? Even some of the companion and master stuff happens up here north of here in the Helden Freeholds, or Alphacia is off over this way, the Isle of Dawn, and then way over this way is Alphacia. And, Alphacia was a bit overpowered, so in Wrath of the Immortals, they decided to kind of nerf the whole freaking thing and put the country of Alphacia into the Hollow World. Yeah, the setting world is hollow. Just spilling the spoilers all over the place today. But, do not buy this set until you have set 1. Oh, did this originally have... I felt like this set doesn't come with dice, but this is clearly pictured with dice. Anyhow, that's option 3. You can vote in the poll. You can make a comment. I don't mind. I'll be assessing what to proceed on basically about this time next week when I'm recording this. It happens to be Thursday. So that'll be Halloween, actually. And considering it'll be Halloween, I'll probably will not be recording on that day. I'll probably be recording the day after. But yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what people decide. Currently, the votes have been towards the Monstrous Compendium. Oh, I was talking about the Gazetteers, wasn't I? I just happened to have this here. So this is a Gaz 3, Principalities of Glantry. This one's very popular. This is the magic user country. As you can see, I got it wrapped up. Got this on the cheap. Man, am I a bargain hunter? I love... I mean, I could throw money at something and just like buy some things. And I don't, because I like getting a bargain. It's the thrill of the hunt, as it were, I guess. Right? If I can get it inexpensively, all the better. like there we go. Blackmore. Oh, Blackmore. Dave Arneson. This is a legit print copy, right? Very nice, actually, considering the age of it. It's not written on, it's not drawn on, it's not spilt on. It's got a little bit of roughness here. It's got a little bit of roughness here. It's actually not been bent all to heck. Can't show that image. But yeah, this is, even though this is supplement 2 to the 0th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Blackmore was its own thing outside of the published Dungeons and Dragons before, and a popular setting in Minnesota in the Twin Cities. Awful lot of history here. I was very happy to get this for for less than $50. Um, Clearly, there is a price tag on this thing at one point here, and the gum has just kind of discolored the cover. But yeah, getting there, cobbling together a set of original books. I don't have yet any of supplement, basically the first 3 books, but I now have supplement 1, 2, and 5, which makes me very happy. And eventually, I will get them all. And when I finish this chase, I'll finish this chase. But I'm also well into second edition and AD&D, so I have those things to chase up too. Just got myself a more recent copy of Deities and Demigods. That should be coming in the mail soon, and not the really super collectible one, not the early one. It's the one that goes with the Orange Spine set. But it's a gap in my collection currently, so I'm like, all right. Here I am talking about Mead Buds getting stuff. Honestly, really, what's important to me is knowing what you guys want to do next. That's enough for now. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Your time here is very much appreciated. I hope you have a great day, whatever you're doing. Goodbye.